The builder returned to the tavern for retribution. The humans shouted, "Not during happy hour." Aliens fled. The cosmic cantina sat at the edge of known space, where three trade routes crossed like ancient wagon paths. It was a ramshackle collection of metal plates welded together over decades, growing like a mechanical coral reef. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its twisted arms, their crews seeking alcohol, food, and temporary peace from the endless void. Inside the main hall, beings of every description crowded around mismatched tables. Tentacled Zephyrians slurped fermented algae through breathing tubes. Six-armed Helix engineers tinkered with gadgets while downing synthetic oils. Crystal-bodied resonance hummed in harmony, their song making the cheap glasses vibrate on dirty tables. The air recyclers worked overtime, filtering out methane, sulfur compounds, and other atmospheric preferences into something most species could breathe. Behind the bar, Marcus Chun wiped down a glass with a rag that had seen better decades. His weathered face showed the marks of someone who had spent 40 years fixing things in space. Burn scars from plasma torches, a mechanical eye that glowed soft blue in dim light, and hands that could rebuild a hyperdrive blindfolded. He had been the best ship engineer in the Terran fleet before retiring to this floating pile of scrap. Another round for Table 7, called out Vix, the tavern's draconian waitress. Her scaled hide shifted from green to blue as she navigated between customers, balancing 6 drinks on her tail while carrying 12 more in her forearms. Marcus nodded and reached for bottles that contained liquids no sane human would drink. Running the cosmic cantina meant catering to biology that defied Earth logic. The Methani delegation needed their drinks to be literally poisonous. The crystalline collective required beverages that would dissolve organic tissue. The Hive Queens wanted everything served at temperatures that could melt steel. Busy night, Marcus muttered, mixing a cocktail that glowed purple and occasionally sparked. Happy hour at the cantina was legendary across 3 sectors. Half-price drinks brought in creatures from systems Marcus couldn't pronounce, all looking to forget their problems in chemical solutions. The sound of docking clamps engaging echoed through the structure's metal bones. Another ship had arrived, probably more traders or mercenaries looking to wet their throats. Marcus didn't look up from his mixing. In 40 years of serving drinks to aliens, he had seen everything the galaxy could throw at him. Or so he thought. The main airlock hissed open with a sound like escaping steam. Conversation didn't stop. The cantina saw hundreds of new arrivals every day. But, slowly, a silence began spreading through the room like ripples on a pond. It started near the entrance and moved inward, table by table, as beings turned to look at whatever had just walked in. Marcus finally glanced up from his bottles and felt his blood turn to ice water. The builder stood in the doorway like death in a mechanical suit. 12 feet tall and covered in armor that seemed to eat light, the builder was a legend from the expansion wars. 300 years ago, they had appeared at the edge of civilized space with technology that made advanced races look like children with stone tools. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted, only that they could reshape matter with their minds and build weapons that could crack planets. The war had lasted 50 years. Entire star systems had been erased from existence. Billions had died before the builders simply vanished, leaving behind only ruins and radiation that still glowed in some forgotten corners of space. This one moved with mechanical precision, each step causing the deck plates to groan under its weight. Its helmet was a smooth black oval that reflected nothing, revealing nothing. No face, no eyes, just an endless dark mirror that somehow conveyed malevolent intelligence. The builder's head turned slowly, scanning the room like a weapon targeting system. When its hidden gaze fell on Marcus, the human felt every instinct screaming at him to run, to hide, to do anything except stand there holding a cocktail shaker like an idiot. But Marcus had been in the war. He remembered the siege of Titan Station, where he had watched builder weapons carve through the moon's crust like butter. He remembered the evacuation of New Sydney, where builder ships had arrived like mechanical angels of death. He remembered friends who never made a home, turned to atomic dust by technology beyond understanding. He also remembered why this particular builder might have a problem with him. The alien began moving through the crowded tavern, and customers scrambled out of its way. A table of Zephyrian merchants tried to slither under their seats. The Helix engineers dropped their tools and backed against the walls. Even the resonants stopped humming, their crystal bodies dimming with fear. Marcus reached under the bar and felt the familiar weight of his old service pistol. Military-grade plasma weapon, designed specifically for builder armor during the war. Not that it would do much good. He had seen builder suits shrug off direct hits from battleship weapons. But holding it made him feel slightly less helpless. The builder stopped in the center of the room, towering over scattered tables and terrified customers. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal, transmitted through speakers hidden in its armor. "Human Chun, you will answer for your crimes." Every eye in the tavern turned to Marcus. Some customers recognized the name. Chun, the builder killer, the human engineer who had found a way to turn their own technology against them. During the war, Marcus had studied captured builder equipment and discovered how their matter manipulators worked. He had used that knowledge to build weapons that could penetrate their shields, bombs that could disrupt their reality-altering technology. He had also done something else, something he had never told anyone about, something that apparently this builder remembered. "We need to talk," the builder continued, its mechanical voice carrying clearly through the silent room. "You will come with me. You will face judgment for what you stole." Marcus set down the cocktail shaker with steady hands. His military training kicked in, old instincts taking over despite 40 years of civilian life. In his mind, he was back on the defense platforms, watching builder ships approach like nightmares made real. Back when humanity's survival had depended on people like him finding ways to fight the impossible. "I don't think so," Marcus said quietly. His voice carried clearly in the silence, reaching every corner of the tavern. "See, you picked the wrong time for this conversation." The builder tilted its head slightly, an almost human gesture that somehow made it more terrifying. "Time is irrelevant. Justice delayed is justice denied." "Maybe," Marcus said, reaching for a clean glass and beginning to polish it with mechanical calm. "But you're my place now, and in my place we have rules." The builder took another step forward, armor plates shifting with quiet mechanical sounds. Several customers near the back began edging toward emergency exits. The smart ones had already left when the silence started spreading. "Your rules mean nothing," the builder stated. "Your entire species means nothing. You are insects who stole fire and thought yourselves gods." Marcus continued polishing the glass, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. But his other hand stayed near the pistol. Around the room, he could see his regular customers watching with mixture of terror and fascination. Some of them had been around long enough to hear stories about the war, about the humans who had somehow fought beings like gods, and lived to tell about it. "You might be right about that," Marcus admitted. "But like I said, you picked the wrong time. See, it's 5:30 on a Tuesday." The builder paused, obviously confused by this seemingly random information. Marcus looked up from his glass and met the builder's hidden gaze with steady eyes. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had stared death in the face and made it blink first. "That means it's happy hour." The builder stood motionless for a moment, processing this statement. Around the room, customers began to understand what Marcus was saying. A few of the braver ones started to smile. "And in this establishment," Marcus continued, setting down the glass with deliberate precision, "we have a very strict policy about starting trouble during happy hour." He reached under the bar, but instead of pulling out his pistol, he grabbed something else. The sound of it being said on the bar echoed through the room like a gunshot. It was a simple wooden sign, hand-painted in multiple languages and symbol systems. The message was clear in every script. "No fighting during happy hour. Violators will be banned for life." The builder stared at the sign for several long seconds. Its helmet turned slightly, taking in the faces of customers who were beginning to look less terrified and more interested in the confrontation. "You think a sign will protect you?" the builder asked, its voice carrying a note of what might have been amusement. "Nope," Marcus said cheerfully. "But happy hour doesn't end for another 2 hours. And every being in this room paid good money for half-price drinks. You want to start a fight? You do it on your own time, not theirs." The builder looked around the room, perhaps noticing for the first time that the customers were no longer cowering. A few of the braver ones had actually sat back down. Someone near the back called out an order for another round. "Besides," Marcus continued, pulling out bottles and beginning to mix drinks with practiced efficiency, "you came here looking for justice, right? Well, justice is something you serve properly. And proper service takes time." He finished mixing a drink that glowed soft blue and slid it across the bar toward the builder. The glass stopped exactly at the edge of the bar, close enough for the builder to reach, but not so close as to seem threatening. "First round on the house," Marcus said. "How special. Called a memory burn. Figured someone like you might appreciate the name." The builder stood perfectly still, probably running calculations and threat assessments through whatever passed for its brain. The room held its breath, waiting to see whether they were about to witness the destruction of the Cosmic Cantina or something entirely unexpected. Finally, the builder spoke. "You offer me drink as though I were a customer." "You are a customer," Marcus replied simply. "Long as you're in my place, drinking my liquor, you follow my rules. That's how it works." "And if I refuse?" Marcus shrugged. "Then you can wait outside for 2 hours until happy hour ends. But the next ship doesn't leave until morning, so you be stuck out there with nothing to do but think about whatever it is you think I did wrong." The builder remained motionless for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Then, with mechanical precision, it reached for the glass. The drink disappeared somewhere into its helmet, though Marcus couldn't see how the builder actually consumed it. "Acceptable vintage," the builder said after a moment. "The ethanol concentration is within optimal parameters." "Thanks," Marcus said dryly. "I've been perfecting that recipe for 30 years. Around the room, conversation began to resume as customers realized they weren't about to die in a cosmic-level conflict. The Zephyrians started slurping their algae again. The Helix engineers went back to their tinkering. The Crystalline Collective resumed their harmonic humming. But everyone kept one eye on the bar, where a human bartender and an ancient builder sat like the setup for the galaxy's strangest joke. The builder set down the empty glass with careful precision. "You have changed, Engineer Chun. Once you built weapons. Now you serve drinks." "People change," Marcus said, beginning to mix another round of orders. "Especially after seeing enough war to last 10 lifetimes. Yet you refuse to face the consequences of your actions." "I didn't say that," Marcus replied, sliding 3 different colored drinks down the bar to waiting customers. "I said I won't do it during happy hour. There's a difference." The builder tilted its head again, studying Marcus with invisible sensors. "You believe delay will change the outcome? Maybe. Maybe not. But I learned something during the war that you builder types never seem to understand. Which is..." Marcus looked up from his bottles and met the builder's hidden gaze directly. "Sometimes the when matters more than the what. Timing can change everything." The builder considered this for a moment. "Explain." "Happy hour," Marcus said simply. "Look around. You see a bunch of different species, all drinking together peacefully. Half an hour ago, those Zephyrians over there were having a heated argument with the Helix delegation about trade routes. Could have turned into a shooting match. But it's happy hour, so they're sharing a table instead." He gestured toward a corner where several species were indeed sitting together, their drinks mixing in a rainbow of colors on a shared table. "That table over there? See the resonant singing with the Vorthan mercenary? 3 days ago, their people were shooting at each other over mining rights in the Kepler sector. But it's happy hour, so tonight they're harmonizing." The builder's helmet turned to observe the mixed groups of customers. "You believe alcohol creates peace? I believe the right time and place can change how people see each other," Marcus said. "You want to hash out old grievances? Fine. But doing it here, now, in front of beings who came here to forget their troubles for a few hours? That's just poor timing. The builder stood silently for a long moment. When it spoke, its voice seemed slightly less mechanical. You speak of peace while your species wages war across 3 systems. Some humans wage war, Marcus corrected. Others serve drinks. Others build things, write poetry, explore space, fall in love. We're not all the same, any more than all builders are the same. All builders are the same, the builder stated flatly. Are they? Marcus asked, continuing his work behind the bar. Because the builders I fought during the war never sat in taverns drinking memory burns and having philosophical discussions. They just showed up and started erasing star systems. The builder paused. The war required decisive action. Against military targets, sure. But what about the colony on Harmony 7? 50,000 civilians, mostly farmers and artists. No military value at all. Harmony 7 was in error in judgment. Marcus stopped mixing drinks and looked directly at the builder. Whose error? Another long pause. Mine. The word hung in the air between them, like a confession. Around the tavern, the normal sounds of alien revelry continued, but Marcus could sense that some of the nearer customers were listening to their conversation. So, Marcus said quietly, "You're not here just for justice. You're here because you feel guilty. Builders do not experience guilt. Then, what do you call it when you spend 300 years tracking down one human because you can't forget something you did wrong?" The builder's helmet turned away, focusing on something across the room. I call it maintenance. Maintenance. Correcting errors. Completing unfinished business. Marcus nodded slowly. I can understand that. I've got some unfinished business myself. The device you stole. You must return it. I didn't steal anything, Marcus said. I salvaged it from the wreckage of your ship after it tried to glass a refugee convoy. Big difference. The quantum manipulator was not meant for human hands. The quantum manipulator was being used to murder children. Marcus replied, his voice hardening. So I took it, and I used it to build weapons that saved lives. You used builder technology to kill builders. I used builder technology to stop builders from committing genocide. Again, big difference. The builder turned back to face Marcus. Where is it now? Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. Finally, he reached under the bar again and pulled out a small device about the size of a human fist. It was clearly alien technology, crystalline components woven together with metallic threads that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. It pulsed with a soft inner light that made the air around it shimmer. Several customers gasped when they saw it. Anyone with basic education knew what builder quantum manipulators could do. Reshape matter at the atomic level, create energy from nothing, alter the fundamental forces that held reality together. Right here, Marcus said, setting the device on the bar between them. Been using it to keep the beer cold and the artificial gravity working. Turns out it makes a hell of a good multi-tool. The builder stared at the device for several seconds. You use a reality-altering quantum manipulator as a cooling system, among other things. Fixed the air recyclers last week when they started acting up. Helped patch a hull breach during that meteor shower last month. Keeps the lights working when we lose main power. You have no idea what you possess, the builder said, its mechanical voice carrying a note of what might have been awe or horror. Sure I do, Marcus replied. It's a tool. Very advanced tool, but still just a tool. Tools aren't good or evil, depends on how you use them. That device could reshape a star system. Yep. It could also fix Mrs. Kowalski's coffee maker, which is what I used it for yesterday. Her husband's been dead 20 years, and that coffee maker is the only thing she has left that he touched. When it broke, she cried for 3 hours. Marcus picked up the device and turned it over in his hands like someone examining a familiar wrench. Took me about 5 minutes to fix it with this thing. Brought it back to her this morning with fresh coffee already brewing. She smiled for the first time in months. The builder watched Marcus handle the quantum manipulator with casual familiarity. You could have used it to build weapons. Ships. Created an empire. Could have. Didn't want to. Why? Marcus set the device back down and resumed mixing drinks. Because I've seen what happens when people build empires with weapons like this. I spent 50 years watching the galaxy burn because someone decided their way was the only way. He gestured around the tavern with one hand while pouring with the other. This is better. Different species, different worlds, all sitting together drinking overpriced alcohol and complaining about their problems. No one trying to conquer anyone else. No one claiming they know the secret to universal happiness. You find this preferable to order? I find it preferable to the kind of order that comes from forcing everyone to think the same way, Marcus said. Your people try to bring order to the galaxy once. How'd that work out? The builder was silent for a long moment. Our methods were flawed. Your methods were insane, Marcus said bluntly. You try to solve complex social problems by erasing anyone who disagreed with you. That's not order. That's just fear wearing a fancy uniform. Yet chaos reigns. Wars continue. Suffering persists. Sure it does. But beings also fall in love, create art, build families, discover new worlds, write songs that make people cry with joy. You can't have one without the other. Marcus finished mixing a complicated cocktail that required 7 different ingredients and a small controlled explosion. He slid it down the bar to a waiting crystalline collective member, who caught it with a tendril of living crystal and began absorbing it through osmosis. The suffering could be eliminated, the builder continued. With proper application of quantum manipulation technology, scarcity could be ended. Death itself could be overcome. Perfect order achieved. At the cost of everything that makes life worth living, Marcus replied. You want perfection? Go build yourself a computer. It'll follow every rule, never disagree, never surprise you. Also never love you, never create anything beautiful, never make you laugh at an unexpected joke. Love is chemical reactions. Beauty is subjective neural response. Laughter is social conditioning. Maybe, or maybe you just forgot how to recognize them. The builder tilted its head. Explain. Marcus looked around the tavern, taking in the dozens of different species, sharing space, and stories. Look at that table over there. See the young Zephyrian couple? They're on their first date. Nervous as hell, but try to impress each other by ordering the most exotic drinks they can pronounce. The builder's helmet turned to observe the table Marcus had indicated. 2 Zephyrians sat close together, their tentacles occasionally brushing as they shared a cocktail that shifted colors like an aurora. Chemical attraction designed to ensure reproduction, the builder stated. Sure, but watch her face when he tells that story about fixing his ship's navigation system. She's not thinking about reproduction. She's thinking about how clever he is, how his voice sounds when he gets excited about something he loves. Marcus mixed another round while continuing his observation. And look at his eyes when she laughs. That's not just social conditioning. That's someone discovering that another person's happiness can make them happy too. Inefficient emotional responses. Inefficient, maybe, but they make him want to be better than he was yesterday. They make her want to explore parts of the galaxy she's never seen. 9 months from now, they'll pool their resources and buy cargo ship together. 5 years from now, they'll have 3 kids and a trade route that connects 12 systems. Marcus gestured toward another table. See the old Helix engineer drinking alone? He lost his partner in a construction accident 6 months ago. Comes in here every Tuesday, orders the same drink, sits in the same spot. Thinks nobody notices. Grief serves no evolutionary purpose. Maybe not. But watch what happens at 8 o'clock. As if on cue, a group of younger Helix engineers approached the old-timers table. They spoke quietly with him, gestured toward their own table, and eventually convinced him to join them. Within minutes, the old engineer was smiling and sharing stories about construction projects that had gone hilariously wrong. Happens every week, Marcus said. They don't know him personally, but they know loss. They know what it's like to work dangerous jobs in dangerous places. So they make sure he doesn't drink alone. The builder watched the interaction with what might have been curiosity. They gain nothing from this behavior. They gain everything, Marcus replied. They gain the knowledge that when their time comes, someone will remember they existed. Someone will make sure they don't face the dark alone. Marcus began cleaning glasses while talking, his hands working automatically from decades of practice. You builders, you looked at the galaxy and saw inefficiency, saw chaos that needed to be controlled. But you missed the point entirely, which is the chaos is the point. The inefficiency is what makes it beautiful. Remove the uncertainty, the struggle, the possibility of failure, and you remove everything that gives life meaning. The builder was quiet for a long time, processing this information. Around them, the tavern continued its nightly rhythm. Species that had been enemies during the war shared tables and stories. Traders made deals that would connect distant worlds. Young beings fell in love, while old ones shared wisdom accumulated over centuries of living. Finally, the builder spoke. You would have us believe that your species' chaotic approach to existence is superior to builder order. I'm not trying to convince you of anything, Marcus said. I'm just telling you why I used your technology to cool beer instead of conquering star systems. He picked up the quantum manipulator again, examining its crystalline structure in the tavern's dim light. This thing could probably solve every problem in known space. End hunger, cure diseases, stop wars, make everyone happy and healthy and safe forever. Yes, but then what? What happens to people who never have to struggle, never have to choose, never have to fail at something and try again? They would be content. They'd be dead inside, Marcus said. Just biological machines going through motions without purpose or passion. He set the device down and looked directly at the builder. I've watched people spend their entire lives learning to make the perfect cup of coffee. Watched engineers design ships for decades, failing hundreds of times before they finally created something that worked. Watched artists struggle for years to capture a single moment of beauty. Marcus paused, remembering faces from his long life. I've also watched parents sit up all night with sick children, not knowing if medicine would work. Watched lovers say goodbye before dangerous voyages, not knowing if they'd see each other again. Watched friends sacrifice their own safety to protect strangers they'd never met. Inefficient, painful, wasteful, and absolutely worth it, Marcus said firmly, because the coffee tastes better when you've learned to make it yourself. The ships fly stronger when they're built with love and patience. The art moves your soul when you know how much the artist suffered to create it. Marcus began wiping down the bar, preparing for the eventual end of happy hour. Your people offered perfect order, guaranteed safety, universal contentment, and almost every species in the galaxy said no. Ever wonder why? The builder considered this. Because they were too primitive to understand the benefits. Because they understood something you didn't. That a perfect life isn't worth living. The builder stood motionless for nearly a minute, its helmet tracking the activities around the tavern. When spoke again, its voice seemed softer somehow. The war, the destruction, it was intended to bring peace. I know, Marcus said. That's what made it so terrible. You weren't monsters. You were people who genuinely believed you were saving the galaxy. Makes it harder to hate you, actually. Do you? Hate us. Marcus thought about it seriously. I hate what you did. I hate the friends I lost, the worlds that got burned, the children who never got to grow up. But hate you personally? No. You're just beings who made really bad choices with really good intentions. The builder's helmet tilted slightly. Yet you took our technology, used it against us. Because someone had to stop you before you saved the galaxy to death. Marcus pulled out a clean glass and began polishing it absently. You know what the funny thing is? You could have had everything you wanted without firing a shot. Explain. Look around. This place exists because different species found common ground. Not perfect unity, just enough shared interest to drink together without shooting each other. Marcus gestured to the mixed crowd of customers. No one forced them to come here. No one made them get along. They do it because they want to, because they found something in each other worth knowing. He set down the glass and looked at the builder directly. You could have built taverns instead of battleships, created meeting places instead of monuments to order. Let people find their own reasons to cooperate instead of forcing them to submit. The results would have been unpredictable. Yeah, but they would have been real. Happy hour was winding down now. Some customers were settling their tabs and heading back to their ships. Others were transitioning into the evening crowd, ready to continue drinking at regular prices. The quiet buzz of conversation continued in a dozen different languages and harmonic frequencies. So, Marcus said, checking the chronometer behind the bar. Happy hour ends in 15 minutes. After that, we can step outside and finish this conversation any way you want. The builder considered this. You would fight me? If you insist on fighting, yeah. Won't enjoy it, probably won't win it, but I'll get my best shot. Yet you believe violence is counterproductive. I believe unnecessary violence is counterproductive. Sometimes violence is very necessary. Marcus reached under the bar and pulled out his old service pistol, setting it on the bar next to the quantum manipulator. This gun killed 17 builders during the war. 17 beings who were trying to murder refugee children. I didn't enjoy it, but I'd do it again if I had to. He picked up the weapon and checked its charge level with practiced efficiency. The difference is knowing when you have to and when you're just being lazy. Fighting you now, in front of these people, during their happy hour, that would be lazy. Fighting you outside, after they've had their peace, that would be necessary. The builder stared at the weapon for a moment. You believe your primitive projectile weapon could harm me. This primitive projectile weapon was specifically designed to punch through builder armor using quantum-disrupted plasma bolts, Marcus said matter-of-factly. I should know. I helped design it. He holstered the weapon and resumed cleaning glasses. Of course, we could also skip the fighting entirely and just talk. I'm getting too old for hand-to-hand combat with 12-foot-tall aliens. What would we discuss? Whatever brought you here in the first place. Whatever's been eating at you for 300 years. Whatever made you track down one human bartender in the middle of nowhere. Marcus leaned against the bar, studying the builder's blank helmet. I'm guessing it's not really about the quantum manipulator. You could have built 1,000 of those by now if you wanted them. This is about something else. The builder was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the last few minutes of happy hour played out in the comfortable chaos of a successful tavern night. Harmony 7, the builder said finally. What about it? You said it was an error in judgment. My error. Marcus nodded. Okay. I was young then, eager to prove myself worthy of builder status. The colony appeared on strategic charts as a potential threat to builder operations. 50,000 farmers and artists. The intelligence was incorrect. By the time I realized this, the orbital bombardment had already begun. The builder's voice became quieter, more mechanical, as if emotions were being suppressed by effort. I tried to abort the operation, but builder weapons, once activated, follow predetermined protocols. The planet was sterilized before the abort command could be processed. Marcus stopped cleaning glasses and gave the builder his full attention. 50,000 beings died because I was too inexperienced to verify intelligence data, too proud to question orders, too eager to prove myself. And you've been carrying that for 300 years. Builders do not forget. We do not forgive. We do not allow errors to remain uncorrected. But you can't bring them back. No, but I can ensure that the technology used to kill them is never used for destruction again. Marcus looked down at the quantum manipulator, understanding finally dawning on him. You're not here for justice. You're here for penance. I do not understand this concept. Sure you do. You want to take responsibility for what happened. Make amends somehow. Marcus picked up the quantum manipulator and turned it over in his hands. Problem is, destroying this thing won't bring back the people who died. Won't change what happened. Won't even prevent it from happening again. It will prevent you from using builder technology for violent purposes. I already did that on my own, Marcus pointed out. 40 years ago, when I hung up my uniform and opened a bar. The builder tilted its head. You retired from military service. Completely. Haven't built a weapon since the war ended. Haven't even carried this pistol except as a precaution against drunk customers getting rowdy. Marcus gestured around the tavern. This is what I chose to do with my life after the fighting stopped. Not conquest, not revenge, not building bigger weapons. Just serving drinks to beings who want to forget their troubles for a few hours. Yet you retain the quantum manipulator. Because it's useful for peaceful purposes. Because tools aren't evil just because evil people use them sometimes. Marcus set the device down between them again. But if it would help you sleep better at night, you can have it back. I've gotten pretty good at fixing things the old-fashioned way. The builder stared at the device for a long time. You would simply give it to me? Sure. I never thought of it as mine anyway. Just something I was taking care of until you came to get it. Without conditions? Without demand for compensation. What would I demand? You can't undo the past. Can't bring back people who died. Can't make the war unhappen. Marcus leaned on the bar, looking tired suddenly. Besides, keeping something that belongs to you, just to spite you would make me the kind of person I spent 50 years fighting against. The builder reached for the quantum manipulator, then stopped. What will you do if your equipment fails? How will you maintain this establishment without builder technology? Same way I maintained starships for 20 years before I ever saw builder tech. Same way billions of beings maintain their lives without reality-altering devices. Marcus smiled slightly. I'll figure it out. Ask for help when I need it. Muddle through with whatever tools I can find or build. Make mistakes and try again. Inefficient. Probably. But it's honest work. The builder picked up the quantum manipulator and examined it with invisible sensors. This device has been modified. Yeah, I added a few safety protocols. Prevented it from being used for large-scale destruction. Figured if I was going to keep it around, better safe than sorry. You deliberately limited its capabilities. I deliberately made it impossible for anyone to accidentally blow up a solar system while trying to fix a coffee maker. The builder was quiet for several minutes, running scans on the device. Finally, it set the manipulator back down on the bar. The modifications are elegant. You have improved the design. Thanks. I think the safety protocols you installed would have prevented the Harmony 7 incident. Marcus looked up sharply. What do you mean? The orbital bombardment systems use similar quantum manipulation technology. Had they included your safety modifications, the abort command would have functioned correctly. The builder's helmet turned toward Marcus. You have spent 40 years creating solutions to problems that caused thousands of deaths during the war. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. I was just trying to make it safer to use. The cascade dampener you installed would prevent quantum cascade weapons. The reality anchor you added would stop dimensional warfare. The consciousness buffer would eliminate the possibility of psychic bombardment. The builder continued listing modifications, each one corresponding to a weapon system that Marcus remembered from war. Weapons that had killed billions before the fighting finally stopped. You have turned a weapon into a tool for peace. Marcus stared at the device with new understanding. For 40 years, he had been unconsciously building solutions to the problems that had made the war so devastating. Every modification, every safety protocol, every improvement had been designed to prevent the very tragedies he had witnessed firsthand. I didn't realize, he said quietly, perhaps not consciously, but your modifications represent decades of careful thought about preventing destruction. The builder picked up the quantum manipulator again. You have created what we could not. A builder device that cannot be used for genocide. So what now? Marcus asked. The builders stood silently for a moment, holding the device. Around them, happy hour was officially ending. The last of the early crowd was heading out while the evening shift prepared for a longer night of drinking and conversation. Now, the builders said, I have a choice to make, which is, I can take this device and destroy it, ensuring that builder technology never again falls into human hands. This would fulfill my original mission. The builder paused. Or I can recognize that you have accomplished something my people could not. You have proven that builder technology can be used for construction rather than destruction. Marcus waited. You have spent 40 years making amends for a war you did not start. Perhaps it is time for me to do the same. The builder set the quantum manipulator back down on the bar and pushed it toward Marcus. I return this to your care, Engineer Chen. Use it wisely. Marcus stared at the device. You're giving it back? I'm trusting you to continue doing what you have already done, building peace instead of weapons. The builder turned toward the door, then paused. Perhaps my people chose the wrong path during the war. Perhaps forced order is not the only way to create peace. It's not, Marcus said. But It took me 40 years to figure that out myself. What did you learn? Marcus gestured around the tavern, taking in the diverse crowd of customers, the mixture of species and cultures sharing space without conflict. I learned that peace isn't something you impose on people. It's something they build together, one conversation at a time. The builder nodded slowly. An interesting hypothesis. More than a hypothesis. Look around, it works. The builder's helmet tracked across the room, observing beings from dozens of worlds drinking and talking together. No guards, no weapons, no enforcement mechanisms beyond social pressure and common courtesy. Perhaps, the builder said, I have been thinking about order incorrectly. Maybe, but you've got time to figure it out. The builder moved toward the exit, then stopped again. Engineer Chun? Yeah. Thank you for the drink. Anytime. Doors always open. The builder paused at the threshold. I may return sometime to observe your methods. You're welcome to. Fair warning, though. I charge full price for drinks outside of happy hour. For the first time in their conversation, the builder made a sound that might have been laughter. Understood. Marcus watched the ancient being walk through the airlock and disappear into the docking bay. A few minutes later, he heard the sound of a ship departing, engines fading into the distance of space. Vix appeared at his elbow, her scales shifting to a curious yellow pattern. What was that about? Old business, Marcus said, picking up the quantum manipulator and slipping it back under the bar. Finally got settled. Builder tech always makes me nervous, Vix said. Too much power in such a small package. All technology is dangerous if you use it wrong, Marcus replied. The trick is using it right. He looked around the tavern, taking in the peaceful chaos of beings from across the galaxy, sharing drinks and stories. Tomorrow there would be new arrivals, new conversations, new connections being made between species that had once been enemies. Another round for Table 12, Vix called out, heading back into the crowd. Marcus smiled and reached for his bottles. Just another night at the Cosmic Cantina, where the most advanced technology in the galaxy was being used to keep the beer cold and the artificial gravity working. Exactly as it should be.